Good afternoon, everybody. Today we are going to be making some beautiful scrubs. So we're going to do a sugar scrub, and this is a part of my series that goes into my Christmas book. So I actually have a Christmas book that I make, and I actually give that to my Patreon members. So they will be getting that tonight. So this is like a 13-page book, and it has some recipes and some tips and tricks and a planner and things like that in it as well. So I've got to finish this last bit off so that they can get this beautiful recipe. But I thought, look, let's do a little bit more testing. I'm going to make this for my young 15-year-old daughter, so we're just going to make a small one today. But anyway, let's get going and I'll show you how I make it. So now let's get making this lovely, beautiful scrub. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. This one is for my daughter Annie. So I thought, look, I'm going to do a little bit of a test for this one. I've changed this recipe a tiny bit. I tweaked it just a few grams here and there. But anyway, I know it's going to be lovely. So now this one is not an emulsified, watered body butter. This one has just your pure butters and oils in it. And then, of course, we do have some emulsifier and stuff like that in it, but I'll explain that as we go along. So in here I've already measured up my beautiful unrefined shea butter. Now lots of people like refined. You can use that. I personally like the unrefined, and I will tell you that depending where you get it from will really change the scent of it. So this particular shea butter, it does have a bit of a smell to it, which is almost like a light chocolatey kind of smell, but it's not strong at all. Some of them are very strong, but anyway, and these are from Deluxe Shea, so that's where I've got those ones down here. So the first thing we need to do is this, which I've already done on here, and now we are just going to measure up the oils that we're going to want. Now this is a 200-gram batch, so it's a really tiny little one, but that's okay, and usually you would wear gloves, but like I said, this is for my daughter, so this is just for us at home. She's going to use it straight away tonight. So like I said, I thought, look, let's just do a little bit more of a test, and it's always good to have these fun testing ones, isn't it? So now what we need to do here is we are going to put this particular product, which is apricot kernel oil, in here. I'm going to measure it up in grams, so let me just add the right amount in here. Because if I do it wrong, then I'll be like, oh no. Now you can use different oils if you want, but apricot kernel is a much lighter oil. Depending on the oils you use, some are much heavier. So I've decided to use that one because, like I said, it is quite a light oil as well. So now we are also going to use some fractionated coconut oil, which I do love. So let me just tear this one out. We're going to add this one in as well. Let me just add this in here. Make sure I measure up the right amounts. As I said, this is a small one, okay? So it's not a massively big mix, which is fine because that's all we need is a smaller one just to be able to test it. And I have 5 daughters, so I've made lots and lots of these kind of products for my daughters as we go along. Now, as many of you know, I am building a shop, so I am actually in my studio that is covered with all different things at the moment, but this is the little bench that I'm working at the moment, like I said, for this testing one. So it's a bit tricky, but when the shop's all done, I'll be very excited and we can get back to normal. So anyway, we have added that in. So now I'm going to be adding in some jojoba oil. You can add in a beautiful pomegranate oil if you want, which I probably will for the next one, but and this is only a couple grams, so it's only a very small portion, about 2% of the recipe, but it will just add that really lovely kind of feel to this. But you know, look, it's just a bit about testing and seeing what you love, but anyway, that's what we're going to do. So now I think we are finished with the oils. So now all I'm going to do is add in my emulsifier. So inside here I have some cetyl alcohol, and I also do have some emulsifying wax in that, so I'm going to pop that in here. Now this is going to go into a double boil, so you have to make sure that the glass you're using is appropriate for that, or if it's not, just pop it into one that is appropriate. But anyway, like I said, we've got all that, so that's the oil. Let's just put this aside so we know that that one's done. So now basically the whole idea is to melt down the oils that we've just done here, and in this container here I am actually going to go and put the sugar in here. So there's lots of different things that you can do to make these beautiful products, and remember too also that we do have this shea butter. So inside here we're literally just going to pop in everything. So I've also got my butters in there. You could use mango butter, you could use cocoa butter, but I decided just to keep it simple. We're just going to keep it to shea butter because a lot of people have shea, but on my recipe book there will be a bit of mango butter, but if you don't want to use that you can just change it and just use all shea. So now we are going to be adding sugar. Now this is just a simple basic sugar, so all that this is your typical sugar. Don't use caster sugar, that's too thin, it won't work. And one thing I will tell you is if you're going to use water, like a water mix into your solution, so you can do like emulsified body butter, which will have an oil base in it. So if you do something like that, just remember that the sugar will slowly dissolve over time because water will make it dissolve. So it's really not going to last on the shelf for months and months and months. Personally, I love that particular recipe much better because it is not as it doesn't have that kind of more of an oily feel that your typical ones like this do feel. But the thing with that, like I said, it has water in it, so sugar will dissolve. And when I first started making scrubs, I actually did not even know that. I had no idea that that's how things worked. But anyway, and so now we're going to add, I'm going to put 80 grams in this one. So let me just add this in. And look, when you're making this, if you make it and then you think, oh, I actually need more, you can easily put more in. Don't feel afraid to add more in if you want to, It's a bit about testing. So if you do one, even if you get a recipe or one of my recipes, then play around with it. You may want to alter, the recipe a little bit, and that would just mean a bit of testing and playing around with it. So anyway, literally we've got everything. So that's literally all we're going to do. We're going to melt that down. Once it's melted, we'll bring it back, put it in the KitchenAid, and we're literally just going to whip it up. As simple as that. So now you can see I have melted down the oil. We will have a little look inside. So it's totally melted down. It's still quite warm. Now with this stage you literally could put it in the fridge to sort of fasten things up. Honestly, I never do. I usually just leave it sitting on the bench covered up, and then I just leave it for a few hours. I come back and stir every now and then, but I know that is a little bit tedious and annoying, but that's something that you could do if you just wanted to. But for now, like I said, I'm going to leave this. I will come back in a couple hours and see how it's going, and then we'll whip it up and make it gorgeous. So we are back, everyone. I have left this for quite some time, and you can see that it is starting to thicken up. It's not totally thick, but this is the thing. If you put it in the fridge, it will be stuck to the sides, really annoying. But if you just let it naturally cool itself down, it's often quite easier to try and handle it. So I do actually have this particular mixer, so we are going to use this rather than the KitchenAid one, just because it's a very small mix, and I can show you exactly how I'm doing this and how I'm getting it to look super beautiful. So I'm going to let this just sit here just for a few more minutes while I organize everything, and then we'll start to whip this up. while I'm waiting for that to set up just a tiny bit more, I thought I would show you. So inside here I do have the sugar. I've also put some black poppy seeds in here, and look how gorgeous this is. Hopefully you can see it. It's super duper sparkly. So we are going to add a little bit of this sparkle into here as well. So that's what it's going to look like, because I want this to be a super sparkly, gorgeous whip. So we'll put that aside because I really want to whip this up really super well. And then we are going to add a fragrance in this as well. So I will add that fragrance in a moment. And then of course, you know, you can add vitamin E and things like that in it. My daughters have said they didn't want it in, and like I said, they're going to use it today. So they're going to use the whole thing straight away. I know they will anyway. So and then of course, if you're at home, use preservative. Please, you must use preservative. I'm not going to put it in only because, as I said, it's only for my daughter, my two daughters at home, and they're both going to use it today. They use lots of scrubs, lots of my lotions, and so on. So anyway, we will get going. I will show you, I promise to show you what this is going to look like. And to get it beautiful, you really want to whip it for about 5 minutes, so quite some time. So I'm going to whip it all up, but I will bring it back to show you, and then we'll add everything else in. Now, I have been whipping it up and it has almost finished. Look how gorgeous this is. Doesn't it look absolutely darling? So from here, we are going to add in some beautiful sugar and the glitters and so on. So let's get going. So now that we have it all looking beautiful, you can see it's super duper creamy and just lovely. I did end up putting it in the fridge just for a minute because I wanted to finish the video for you. So inside here, as you can see, I've got some glitters. I've also got some sugar and these beautiful poppy seeds. So I'm literally just going to gently pour it in. And oh my goodness, I love this glitter. So this is to add a real sparkly type, if you can see the sparkle glitter. And all we're going to do now is literally we're going to just whip this up. Doesn't it look darling? And then I'll bring you back and show you. So now that I have whipped it up, and doesn't it look beautiful? Of course, if you want to add in a color, you can do that. If you want to add in a fragrance, you can do that as well. So I am actually just going to add in a little bit of this fragrance. I'm just going to add the very tiniest bit. So let's just pour some of that in. Usually you're going to add 1 or 2%. Some of them you can add more. If you want to add more oils, you can do that. If you feel that this is too thick for you, you can add in your oils. But my suggestion is always let it get to room temperature. Wait 24 to 48 hours, because you can always re-whip this up and add more oils if you want it thinner. And that's the whole point of all of this. And do remember, you would be adding in preservative, you would be adding in vitamin E, and all of those extra things that you may want to add in here. But it's going to feel super beautiful. I am going to bring out another recipe too that will have stearic acid in, and it will have a little bit of a different texture. But if you want some that have a different texture, there's also a great video on YouTube, and it's from a girl called Tara Lee, and she does actually have some really good body butters. I've learned a lot from watching her videos, as I'm sure many people have. You know, there's so many really clever people out there, clever business people, so you can definitely go and follow them and see how you go. But from here, I think I'm almost finished here. Like I said, we've just added a tiny bit of fragrance, not a lot. We didn't want a lot in it, but for now I'm going to just pop it into a container, because like I said, this is for my daughter. So I'm just going to use a basic container that I already had, and now literally this is all it's going to look like. So doesn't it look thick and delicious? I know my daughters are going to love it. Usually you would pipe this in, but as I said, it's just for them. I just didn't want to leave it in the glass one in case they broke it, because, you know, they are teenage daughters, so who knows. But anyway, I know that they are going to absolutely love it. Doesn't it look delish? So just beautiful. It does feel really nice. And as I said, you can do totally emulsified ones with your water base in them, but this one is an oil-based product. So, and the reason for putting preservatives is, you know, this is going to go in the shower. Of course, water will be introduced 100%. We know that. So that's why you would actually be putting the preservative. It's not so much with the oils, but once water gets introduced, we know that's going to happen. But for now, I hope you have enjoyed my video, seeing this absolutely gorgeous sort of, you know, body scrub. And it is going to look, and I'll show you actually before I go. So if I just put it on my arm, so now you can see how it's like really creamy. So this is basically how it's going to be on your arm, and then you're going to rub it in, and then of course rinse that off. And I can tell you, it feels beautiful. Like with that bit of coconut oil, it really will have that silky kind of feel. And it's just the perfect consistency for a scrub. So anyway, I'm going to go and wash that off. And now I'm going to feel absolutely silky and beautiful, because I am going back out into my other, my shop, because we are still building that. So I know my husband wants to do a bit more work on that tonight. So I will get going with that, and I'll be on with all the conference information that I need to do as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you give me a thumbs up, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, friends.